anyone's feeling lost, then don't worry, I've got you covered with a summary before we begin explaining recent events. If you're all caught up and understand what's going on up until now, then skip to the timestamp on the screen now. If you'd like to dive deeper than just a summary, check out my previous 3 videos explaining the lore. Over the past year, Akai Haato began to become more chaotic and had less of a typical pure idol personality. Around 6 months ago or so, people began to joke that she had killed her past self to become Haachama. She continued to get more extreme and throw caution to the wind. In this clip, she even professes that she's playing a game with YouTube to see how much she can get away with.
はい。自分のエッチな絵を見続けてしまったことです。YouTube くんとのギリギリの駆け引きというか、自分のちょっとね視聴者のみんなが描いてくれたエッチなイラストを、こう放送でね、ギリギリ見えないように見えないように見ることによって、こうなんかスリルをね楽しんでるってことで、7月3日生放送で起こった悲劇、ハーチャマがエッチなイラスト鑑賞会して18金様は YouTube に圧力かけすぎた。神湯シェロガに全力注いでアーカイブが18金。どうしてパンじゃないの？
About 2 weeks ago, she revealed her horror lore, fully embracing fan perception and dialing it up to 11. Haachama released a short video titled #FreeHaato that showed Akai Haato in a jail cell asking for help. What followed was an unarchived karaoke stream where Haato and Haachama were seen together in their full 3D models. This is the only time that happened as far as I'm aware. During that stream, Haachama forced Haato back into the prison she'd been holding her inside. Nevertheless, Haato escaped during nights and streamed Minecraft when Haachama was asleep. Eventually, Haachama found her out and decapitated Haato during another karaoke stream. My take on all of this was that Haachama was suffering from a dissociative disorder and that this didn't actually happen. Sure enough, Haato came back and found her body desecrated. She then went looking for Haachama and stole her body instead. Now, Haachama is the one who was decapitated by Haato. Haato professed that she loves Haachama, her alternate personality, but had to do this to continue to live her life. In Haato's room, there was a calendar with 4 dates marked. Haachama days were marked with hearts, and there was an ominous X mark on March the 3rd. Afterwards, we see another karaoke stream where Haato sings about regretting killing Haachama and wishing she were there with her. She professes her love again. We see scenes of them from childhood having fun together. Haachama is clearly still alive because she keeps calling Haato throughout the stream. She even smiled through the call at one point. We're left wondering if and when we'll see Haachama again. This concludes the summary, and now we're all caught up and turning to present events. Haato streams 5 times before episode 3, which aired just before midnight on February 18th, one of the Haachama days marked on the aforementioned calendar. On her 2nd and 4th streams, Haachama briefly took over from Haato at some points. This reinforces my idea from the last theory episode that Haachama is suffering from dissociative identity disorder, and that neither Haato nor Haachama has ever really died. I would like to make a correction about the cause of Haachama's dissociative identity disorder. The typical age of onset for the disorder is between the ages of 5 and 10. It's highly unlikely, though not impossible, that this disorder would be caused by the idol pressures experienced by Akai Haato in her late teens. We actually see scenes of Haato and Haachama together as children, so the story writers have done their due diligence. It was me that missed this crucial point. This means lore-wise that the character Akai Haato experienced abuse as a child and Haachama came about as a result of that. We see from episode 3 that the room in which they're holding hands is small and completely threadbare. It looks to me like a space child Haato was confined to, perhaps for days at a time. There's nothing in there but a pig stuffed animal that is in disrepair. Certain elements of the story might have been influenced by the streamer's IRL experiences, but the story itself likely deviates a lot. People's alternate personalities often swap when one of them gets too stressed and the other is better able to handle the situation. That means Haachama began to stream when the pressures became too intense for Haato to handle. rather than Haachama's actual existence coming from said pressures. She was always there, it's just that Haato was better equipped to portray the image of a pure idol. Haachama, by contrast, is devil-may-care and quite resilient when it comes to people adding stress and attempting to control her behavior. So, what about the stitches on Haato's neck? Well, unfortunately, that's probably a form of self-harm brought about by the delusion of swapping heads. Also, we never see stitches on her neck during the streams themselves. It's only in fan art, her profile picture, and in thumbnails. My assessment might change if she removed the black choker and the stitches were present, with a clear head separation, but without evidence on her 3D model, there's no way to prove it's anything except self-harm. I'm about 90% sure this is not a supernatural zombie scenario and is instead a depiction of dissociative identity disorder, although I acknowledge that the two concepts aren't mutually exclusive. Sure, there are lots of supernatural entities in hololive, including ones that can't die and ones that simply resurrect if they do. There's even an actual zombie. However, Haachama started out as a normal human, and there's been nothing outside of this lore that suggests anything otherwise. Back to the 4th and 5th streams, I really enjoyed the 4th one titled New Game because Haachama was angry that she's not allowed to be part of hololive English, and she memed the heck out of it. The Shining and Monica references in her short videos following the stream are also just fantastic. Her 5th stream on February 17th was unarchived and was yet another karaoke stream. It was titled Stress Free, and we got to see Haato singing with Haachama's head on the table. She seemed quite regretful it was there, but this delusion prevented her from being interrupted by Haachama's calls. We can see Haachama's head still breathing, so she's clearly asleep, not dead. I think this was Haato's decision that allowed her mind to be at peace from Haachama, trying to get out and assuming control of her body. Now we come to our lovely Haachama day stream. Here we see that the beheadings and disturbing events were a recurring nightmare Haato was experiencing. She alluded to having nightmares in her earlier videos, so I should have picked up on this last theory. A big thank you to Reddit user XenoPie for translating the back half of this stream. I would have gotten quite a few things wrong had I only used the in-chat translations alone. When Haato wakes up from her nightmare around 11:45 p.m., she gets a call from Haachama. She doesn't want her to arrive, but Haachama shows up anyway. She then reads Haachama this letter. This letter is so significant that I'm just going to do an English voiceover for this, so you guys can read it along with me. February 10th, 2021. Dear Haachama, I'm sorry I did that to you. At that time, I couldn't comprehend what was happening. I was completely focused on finding my body and finally found one. And now I've remembered you, Haachama. We used to play like that in the past, right? Hide and seek was fun, wasn't it? I ripped your plushie in the past, didn't I? The head came off, got sewn back on, I'd hide it, and you'd find it again. I wonder if that's why my head was inside of the plushie in that state. Hey, Haachama, why was I unable to remember until now? Even though we promised we'd always be together. Why did I forget? To think I'd be this lonely after you've gone. Just kidding, I was just trying to be sappy. To be honest, I'm super happy. With this, our promise is fulfilled, right? That was fun, right? Hide and seek? Now that I think about it, having your body taken from you was a pretty original way to play, as you'd expect of Haachama. You know, I love you, Haachama. All of this has been an expression of my love. So, won't you accept my love? So, won't you accept myself? Won't you accept my love? And that concludes the letter. Well, I don't really believe Haato here. Haachama was a comfort to Haato throughout her life. Perhaps she is happy that she doesn't have to compete with Haachama for control over her body when she kills her, but it doesn't make sense to me that she'd suddenly become a villain. She would have had to be an incredible liar to have pulled this off. Her sustained regretfulness just seemed too genuine. Even with this development, I'm sticking with my mental illness assessment because the last line of the letter spells out, "Won't you accept myself, won't you accept my love?" I still think this is one person with one body. Another thing to note is, how would her head have found a body to attach itself to? A head cannot physically move on its own unless it's somehow supernatural. So it really just makes more sense to me that this was a hallucination and/or delusion. After that, Haachama comes down from the ceiling and lo and behold, she still has her head. She says she didn't realize everyone would miss her this much, but thanks us for our support. She wants to be able to settle the score with Haato and says there are a lot of complicated feelings. Then she tells us something very important, so pay close attention. I think the streamer herself is speaking here. She says she wants us all to accept both Haato and Haachama. As alluded to in her regretful karaoke stream, she wants coexistence for Haato and Haachama. It's possible she wants to continue to stream as both of them at different times. That means that team #coexist was correct all along. Where is the story going next? Well, Haachama has asked for fan submissions for a horror contest on February the 28th. If you have a talent and are able to participate, please do. Throughout the lore, she has been relying on fan art to help tell her story. That means the lore is likely fan-driven. I've realized that part of the reason this lore is so brilliant is that it depends on fan participation. Haachama was inspired to tell the story in the first place because fans were memeing that she had killed Akai Haato. So, if you guys want to prove me wrong, all you have to do is flood her submission feed with zombie or Dolahan stuff. In her Haachama karaoke stream on February 20th, she introduced an impressive alto voice. While singing alto range certainly does not mean you're a guy, people are calling the voice Redcoon. Since Haachama is highly receptive to fan opinion, we could see a third personality, this time male, introduced into the lore at some point. That still checks out because people with dissociative identity disorder can have hundreds of alternate personalities, and they can be of any gender regardless of the body they inhabit. As for where the story stands now, the streamer may pull back on her rapid pace of advancing the lore. She says she's still inexperienced, and she's worried that some senpais will be scared away by the content she's making now. I mean, I've been busting my butt to try and keep up with her, so I can't imagine how many hours she has to work. Major respect to her, she deserves to have a break. Well, if you ever see this, Haato, just know your senpais absolutely love the story you've created. It's brilliant, and we enjoy coming along for the ride. You deserve all our support, and we appreciate all your hard work. Regardless of what you decide to do from here on out, I'll continue to enjoy your content. And hey, if you Haatons watching this enjoy this content, why not hang out in my Discord? As you might expect, we've got waifus galore. And remember, that's just, nah, I can't do that. I'll think of my own outro pretty soon. See you next time.